is Ichazo. I'm a general partner at Notion, which is a venture capital firm based in London. Leah and I met, I think, a couple of years ago. She has been advising our companies for a long time in everything growth and product, and we both share this passion for the intersection of both of those. And today we are going to be talking about AI, and I would love to hear in the room how many of you have been implementing AI during the last couple of months in your product, or are wondering how can you use AI within the product. Any of you thinking about this? Yeah? Yeah, I can see some people, yeah. So I think it's a pretty hot topic. And to talk about it, we are today in Milan. We have really the pleasure to be partnering with Product Heroes. We have Marco here. Marco, why don't you come here and tell everybody what, I know that a lot of Product Hero people are in the room, but we have some people also online and some other people coming. Why don't you tell us what Product Hero is?
Can you hear me? Yes. Who already knows Product Heroes in this room? Raise your hands. Good to know everyone. So basically we are the ecosystem for product managers in Italy. So our mission is to spread product culture in Italy. So it's a pleasure to host you and to help you in Milan to run this fantastic event. What we do is mainly consultancy and training for companies, and we help people to learn their career in product management or to become better product people. So I don't want to spend too much talking. I will let you continue.
So as usual, we are hosting today the event here from Satisfy, in fact. Giovanni in the back has helped us a lot setting up this. So thank you so much for letting us use this full room of people. I don't think we have almost any seat available, and obviously we have AWS, Amplitude, and Paddle supporting us as they've been for the whole year, and we're really grateful for that. So what are we going to do today? We have a 10 to 15 minute presentation, starting the presentation with Leah. You can do a quick introduction of yourself. I don't know if you need a big introduction, but you can do like a quick 1 minute introduction in case somebody is showing up here and doesn't know you. And then we are going to do a quick panel with Leah and with Sara Gattoni, who is joining us today from Lokalise. She leads growth there. And we will finish with Q&A. We will have Slido to run the Q&A today. Can we show maybe the code and the QR code here? So there is a number at the bottom here for the people
This is my
online.
question. Actually, it's a real question. It's my concern.
For the people online, they can use the code, or you can use this QR code to send the questions, and we will be taking them on the fly throughout the panel here. So, Leah, without further ado, do you want to jump and do your presentation?
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Good.
Amazing. You can hear me, right? Oh, look at it. Oh, wow. Who in here is annoyed about AI? Oh, come on. Who is annoyed about their boss having some kind of understanding about AI that generates problems for you? Okay, there you go. Okay. So, I'm so sorry, Marco. Maybe you have to change your curriculum after this presentation about what you're going to teach all the product people. So maybe we'll see how that goes. But yeah, okay. So, wow, okay, cool. Look, this is my logo. I'm not going to introduce myself because at the end of this presentation you're probably going to know much more about me than you probably want to. But yeah, so I'm going to talk about this clickbaity thing, two clickbaity things in life, about product-led growth and AI. I'm pretty sure you probably heard both terms so far. Also, where's Giovanni? He's right here. Giovanni told me that I need to speak slowly. I'm not sure. I'm gonna just say, like, okay, if I talk too fast or if I use stuff that is not easily understandable, please just tell me to slow the fuck down, okay? Good. This is an Italian slide. I don't know what it means. Should I encourage people? Lo stato del product management in Italia 2020. AIG accoppiato in survey. I don't know what that is.
Stiamo collezionando le risposte per creare lo stato del procedimento. Chi non ha ancora completato la stata di risposta, tra l'altro, ve la salvate e lo completate con calma. Con questo ne creiamo i dati che poi servono poi per capire quanto dovete essere pagati, che responsabilità dovete avere, cioè negoziare meglio con i ospitati o al contrario, negoziare meglio con i ospitati.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly what he said. Not any way different. Okay, cool. Oh, cool. Here's my presentation. So I'm going to talk about 3 things today. First of all, I would like to talk about product-led growth. Then I want to talk about AI and what this has to do with the future of everyone in here. And if you're working in a product as a founder of a company, whatever, what that kind of means. So why do I think I can tell you anything about these topics if you don't know me? Doing something that I rarely do, which is introduce myself a little bit, because the entire topic is so big and I only have 15 minutes, which are probably not going to be 15 minutes, we'll see. So why do I believe that I can talk about product-led growth? So I've been writing this particular guide. Some of you may know it from the internet, maybe not, maybe some of you do. It's one of the biggest guides in terms of like what product-led growth is, like a fundamental understanding, and it's also in, some of the material is in an MBA in universities, so they're teaching this on MBAs, which is really, really cool. But more importantly, I've been working at Small PDF with Sara and Massimo. Thank you, Massimo, for coming. He just flew in from Canada just to attend this event. And this is probably the biggest company that some of you have used from before, right? Small PDF, we had, I think, at the peak 50 million monthly active users. Huge deal. I've never worked with a data stack this big. I think it's so big as what Lokalise has also today. And we were all about product-led growth. We'll talk about this a little bit, and then on the AI side, I've been the head of product of Jua, which is a relatively small company that claims to predict the weather better than anything else in the AI space on an end-to-end model. Are we good? Should I do this? Should I speak louder or slower? Closer. Okay. Good morning, Internet. So I was the head of product at Jua, where we're trying to predict the weather better than before. Was that okay? Cool. So this was about doing something that was not possible before. So an end-to-end machine learning model that predicts the weather without having any physical models to intervene or like calculations or anything. And this is my expertise in it, but I don't know too much about it, even though I was the head of this particular product organization. But yeah, I'm just going to pretend that I know what I'm talking about. So let's see whether I can make a good case for this. So now to the interesting part. So what is product-led growth? I have to include this. So this is a guy called Gary. Who knows Gary? Okay, some of them have seen my name. That's very good. Okay, so this is Gary. He is the person that annoys you among with the founder that talks about AI too much because Gary's from sales. And Gary has a couple of things. First of all, Gary has promises. You can see them on his finger, right? And he's using these promises to give the customers promises about features that you do not have yet. And he's doing that because he has a compensation plan from the CEO that tells him to do that. And then over here, we have the product and support people who are very confused and frustrated because they have to deal with this shit now. So this is Gary, right? And Gary had a place in the industry for a very, very, very long time. He's embodying like what we used to do. And I want to tell you what that exactly is. So Gary was the sales guy. Right? And Gary still exists. There's still salespeople in life, despite what LinkedIn tells you that AI has replaced all of the salespeople. That's not true. So what we used to do is we told our customers that, hey, you need to give us your time and trust me on what I'm telling you, because we have the best product for what you have as a problem. And you kind of had to trust me, right? Who loves talking to salespeople when they're looking for a solution here? Not that many hands are up right now. Okay. And then you got a demo at some point, right, like from these salespeople. And then the salespeople are asking for money, or if you're lucky, they give you a trial or like a POC, or a proof of concept. which was product and promise driven. So even if you had a proof of concept, some of you have probably also been in software where we were in like a 3 months testing phase, and then the boss is asking you at the end of it now, so should we buy this or not? And you're like, I don't think so, I'm not sure, like it looks kind of okay. But you were never really sure what you're getting. But if you did spend the money, you were in it for 2 or 3 years, right? That's what this means. And that is a problem, because you're getting the product at the end of this entire line. But this is sales driven. So the red thing in here is when you give the money and when you're getting the real product, the experience, the thing where you decide on whether this is a good thing for you afterwards and so forth. We needed this because back then in these markets, this was all we had. I'm going to get to this point in a second. So there's nothing wrong with being sales-led. There's a lot of sales-led companies out there that are driving most of their revenue with this still. But this is a thing of the past in some way. So we need to talk now about what is product-led growth and with sales together. So product-led sales, what does that mean? And Lokalise is one of these companies as well that are in this space. So what we try to do on a go-to-market side, and all the product managers that are in here, I promise you, this will make sense in a second why I'm even telling you this, is to talk about how can we build trust with our customers to even consider us to spend time to look into what we think we have. So for instance, if we're producing content for free, and we're not asking for an email anymore, if we have a free webinar, something like this, an event like this, where it's free, technically, where we're not asking you anything other than like giving you value for free, then we ask you for something. So, you know, you're coming to this, you're starting to be interested, maybe you're starting to subscribe to my Substack. Oh yeah, she has a Substack, right? Like, and then there's a paid subscription and so forth. But we're giving you a lot of stuff up front, which is kind of like product-led growth. And then, once we have convinced you that what we do have is worth your time, now we're going to start to build intent that your money is also safe with us. So we give you a freemium, a trial, that kind of stuff. So there's an entire motion now around this, which we call product-led growth, where we let you try the product out without having a sales guy. No Gary, no one will tell you anything. And sometimes in these sales-led companies, Gary is still in there, but like at the end, right? Like when you say like, hey, I've tried this for 2 to 3 months, this seems to be the right thing for our team. Can we talk about compliance? Do you have white label solutions? Blah, blah, blah. Am I talking too fast? Are we okay? Good, okay. And then we ask for something, right? So it is an escalator that never really ends. So we're trying to escalate people's interest a little bit before we ask them for something. It's never the other way around. And the money that we make through product-led growth is usually coming at the end. It's coming very late. So, you know, you're starting to subscribe with Canva for $10. And then you're starting to invite your other team members. And then suddenly it's becoming an entire thing from the company. Yeah, you paid for $10 at the very start, but that's not really when you paid a lot of money, right? Like this is kind of like this escalation. So we are waiting for the customer. We try to prove with our product that it is worth it. Makes sense. You're all familiar with this, I hope. So what this looks like very commonly is that we have a freemium, so some free product that is usage limited. So drive the car that we have, just a very limited amount, but with the full features, but not enough that you can run a business or a big business. And then if you're interested, we convince you that you go into the trial, which is the full experience, but time limited, so you can drive it for 30 days as much as you want, but then you need to decide whether you want to buy it or not. And then we have a paid plan, right? This is the entire kind of motion of product-led growth. Also, this is a relatively familiar thing, I hope. But anyways, whatever we do, we are trying to move from the first to the second to the third and so forth. Kind of like the same thing that I just showed you, right? And then with time, we started to develop numbers around this. So we do know now that good conversion numbers for businesses that you are in are typically looking like this. So from a freemium, we convert about 1 to 7% to a trial, and then another 35% from the trial to the paid plans, you know. And executives like me, we love numbers. Numbers make us feel really good because it's so predictable, right? Sara or anyone else in marketing, for instance, is bringing me 100 people in here, and then I can calculate how many people are going to end up here. And that's cool. We love that. But there's a problem with this. So, the problem is called AI. Why is the problem AI? Because there's two things that people usually conflate when we talk about AI. So what does AI do with your products, with the stuff that you do as a product manager, and what does it do with the markets that we're in? Two things. The first one is product value. So what you are building, what you're selling into the market is going to change. And some of you already know this, of course. So what does that mean? AI product value is about AI allowing the markets, the companies that you are sitting in, to build what was not possible before. You know, as I said, you know, an AI model that is calculating the weather in a way that you were not able to. But it also allows you to solve existing problems for less money with a comparable quality. So for instance, customer support is a very expensive function, or used to be, because you had to employ people. Now you have AI. And even if you are a doubter about AI, right, like AI is capable of like kind of solving this quite really good right now, right? It actually is. It's a very obvious case. So I think you believe me on these two statements so far, right? Because 2 years ago when we talked about this, not a lot of people actually believed this, that this is the case. But now we kind of can believe this, okay? Cool. So what does this mean? This means, fundamentally, that the supply of products, competition, is going up while the demand, so the amount of money that is in the market to pay for the solution, remains the same, relatively. There is less capital necessary to build the same amount of product, if you want to just like simplify this. Okay? This is what I mean with this. And that's not so cool if you are in the business of building products. Because your salary and the money that you need per hour that you're working is still kind of like the same. Okay, everybody's panicking already. So we're gonna come back to this point. The second thing is, it's gonna change how you go to market from a company's perspective. I promise it's gonna get a little bit funnier now. So in the past, back in the days, by the way, where's the camera pointing? Is it better now? Okay, fantastic. So in the past, the challenge was, and in the past, I mean like 20, 30 years ago, right? Like before 2000, when Salesforce started to become a subscription model. The question to the people was like, I have to find a solution that I can afford for a very specific problem I have. Something annoys me in my B2B life, and I need to find something. So Google came into the market. We had these shitty category sites like called Alta Vista, where everything was, do people remember these? You know, so like people with PDS like, okay. So this was a problem in the past. And nowadays, and this is before AI already, so how did we solve this? We tried to solve this with search engines, with sales, you know, like salespeople going out, creating demand, telling others, hey, there's a solution now that we have for a very specific problem that you have, and you can buy it if you want to, you can try it out. But fundamentally, the risk is with the customer. You give me the money, I'll try it out, my time, but I have no choice because you're telling me that this is something revolutionary. The first CRM back in the markets and so forth. And nowadays, today, so even without AI, the problem is, the hard thing is not to find a solution, but the right one. Because we got burnt. How many people in here have bought something from Instagram? From an advert? I'm not ashamed. Yeah. Nobody wanted to raise their hands. And okay. How many of you were disappointed with what they got? So what does that do? You're starting to learn that this thing, when I'm buying from it, is not working anymore. So this is a problem that already existed. And the way that we try to solve it is with self-serve. So we're giving you a freemium, a trial, and so forth. We give you try before you buy, right? The risk is not with you. The risk is now with the company. We give you subscription prices that are so low that it's not that big of a deal. The problem is, it's not the money really, right? It's just, I just don't want to be disappointed anymore. It's just the amount of time that I'm investing in all these shitty claims. Everything is the greatest toy for my cat. And the same is happening in B2B. because everybody will tell you they have the best solution. Remember this one from before? There is a new thing at the beginning that requires a lot of attention and friction to kind of understand before we even have people that are coming in at the beginning into our freemium. And that is typically a marketing challenge, but also a little bit of product challenge and a growth challenge. Okay. There is a thing in companies that I confidently can say by looking at all the companies that I've been working with in the last 2 years. A typical company is today relying on one channel for 80% of its revenue, whether that is SEO, influencer marketing, or some other thing, right? So like there's this one thing. If this goes to shit, everything's going to shit. And these people are not bad, right? Like these people are not stupid. They're trying to de-risk this. And so they're investing a lot of money, like to build alternative kind of demand channels and so forth, but it never really works. We still have this one channel that we were really the best with. We did the same with Small PDF. We dominated SEO. We beat everyone for the longest time on SEO. Without SEO, we would be nowhere. And that's a reality. And this is probably not going to change in the future either. I'm not going to say that. The problem is that I'm saying, and that's probably not that crazy, SEO is never going to be bigger than it was today. It is shrinking. And so are Google paid ads. It's done. It's never going to be bigger. Sure, we have new companies coming to the internet and so forth, but it is going to shrink, and I'm going to tell you why as well afterwards. Not that crazy of a claim. So LLMs, language models, ChatGPT and so forth, and word of mouth start to gain importance. And that usually happens always at the same time in the market when something very, very specific happens. And I'm going to tell you what that is in a second. Channels like LinkedIn, where people like me pretend to be very important to sell knowledge and some other stuff, and influencers, because I'm getting a lot of sponsor deals every month, right? I have a lot of emails where people try to, like marketing departments are trying to, hey Leah, can you like sponsor a message a little bit? They're going to shrink. And that's probably the first time you're hearing this one. And I want to explain you why. Because this has been one of the effects of the above things, or like SEO shrinking, that marketing started to figure out, oh, we need new channels. Maybe we can sponsor all this other stuff. Let's get back to this. Who in here thinks that this picture is AI generated? Raise your hand if you think it is AI generated. Who in here thinks it is not AI generated? It's a genuine, like a picture out of a camera, just normally, whatever. The total of these hands is not who is attending in here. It doesn't matter. I'm not sure. I don't know anymore. And neither will you. And in the future, we are dealing with this on many, many, many fronts. We will not be able anymore to differentiate just from the material of a video, of a picture, of text, whether it is AI generated or not. And that is in itself not a problem if it didn't matter that it comes from a real person in the first place. Because it does matter whether I'm saying something or whether an AI model is saying something, because I have some experience the AI model does not have access to, right? Like I know specific things to me being in companies and so forth. But if you cannot tell, and by the way, it is an AI picture. You can tell by the arm, which is a bit too long, and some other things, but this is an AI picture. So this new AI reality will make it easier, even easier, to find some products, because you're going to be constantly hit in the face with products that you think you need, because they're getting better at targeting you. You know, you mention some things while your phone is in the room, and suddenly you're getting ads for it. I don't have a baby, but I was talking to someone about something, and I'm getting diaper advertisements. I don't know why, but you know, it's not creepy at all. To find some product, and harder to find the right product without traditional methods. The problem is, that was never our problem, right? Our problem is to find the right product, not finding any product. And what that means, and I hope this is understandable now in this particular initiative, is that the real estate where marketing can grab and get attention is getting so hard to access and more expensive and complicated. you probably remember this. You have something, you have some challenge, like you're having not enough leads, you know, like you hear like the marketing people talking about like, oh, we need to have more budget so we can spend it more. What do marketing people spend money for if they are out of ideas? Paid ads. Ads. Everything is going into ads, as much as you can. But if that gets more expensive and gets more complicated, then we have a real problem. So, I know you're looking at me. It's the 15 minutes, right? Okay. This is my YouTube experience. I'm a YouTube Pro subscriber. In every video that I get, I have advertisements in the video, because now they're embedding it in the video, and it's just all a bit shit. It's just getting harder to find good content, right? YouTube is starting to get really, really bad. I don't know who I'm trusting anymore, and the incentives are being switched. And this is the reality in B2B as well. So how does the future look like, right? And what has all of this to do with you? So I'm trying to get to a point. I'm sorry, did you want to make a picture? There you go. Product-led sales. Due zero. The point is this, and I'm really like trying to condense right now what I was about to say. In the past, 20 years ago, $1 in a company was spent mainly between marketing and product, but the majority was going to product because it was more important to build some kind of product, you know, like with these shitty waterfall models, you remember those? Oh, that was a lot of fun. And then we had the idea, hey, we need to do agile, right? We need to kind of figure out what that means. So today, the marketing spend looks roughly like this. There's still a lot of spend on marketing, we still have a lot of in product, and we probably have 1 growth team per 5 product teams. I'm not sure whether some of you have growth teams, but if you do, you probably have a ratio like this. So like 1 growth team per 5 product teams. I am claiming right now that the future companies will start to look something like this. Much more growth teams, and a growth team does nothing else than optimizing flows, monetization, understanding quantitative data on the people who are getting in, why they are coming in, are they the right people that are coming in order to support marketing to deal with this crazy challenge on finding the correct channels that have become so expensive and so hard to handle. And what that means is that product is shrinking. The market for product, classical core product management is shrinking. The good news is that jumping from here to growth is not that hard. It's not that hard. So, what are now the effects on product management? Now you're finally know why you're here. So, product team sizes will start to come down because of these AI workflow improvements, right? That we will have smaller teams, we'll have smaller companies. Bigger demand is now being placed on you as a product manager on understanding revenue. How is what I create in the product generating revenue? And how to translate this into outcomes that are somewhat predictable. It's very difficult, but you know. And what that means is I think that we will specialize further in product management. I'm coming from a time where I was called a web designer. A web designer did everything. Animated GIFs, what was it, like CSS programming? I was an HTML programmer, developer, yeah, let's call it that. Whatever, right? So, like, but I think we will specialize in 3 areas. We will have AI technical product managers, which are usually former engineers who are doing that. That's a bit of a scary one. Growth PMs that specialize in monetization, further understanding of like what this is. This is a lot of quantitative skills. And a new type of product marketing manager that is attached on the product side, because supporting marketing will be so much more important. Marketing will not do a lot anymore on your website. It's not about what it says on the website. It's not about the titles anymore. It's about all the other stuff that comes at the start. And there will be more core PMs. Because one issue that we have with all this AI stuff is the easier it is to onboard onto a product, the easier it is to churn from it. And that's a big problem for a lot of companies. Getting customers is one question, but how to keep them is the other one. So if you decide this one of these is going to be my career, then hey, bless your heart. I think then you're on the right track, and I think this is also where you should go. But I think you have to decide, because just product management is not enough anymore. But the salaries will go up. It always happens when we have this specialization. But unfortunately, we employ less people. Last slide, Justin, I promise. So what should you learn? The future is cross-functional. That means if you are an expert in growth today, then learn about sales, because you will have to deal a lot more with salespeople. If you are an expert in product, learn about growth and revenue, start to learn how a company works, how these entire metrics are starting to be connected. If you're an expert in both of these, then start to learn about product marketing. But please, 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 stop staying in your lane. Product managers do not think across how my product is sold in the company are going to have a very, very hard time. I think that's it. I'm so sorry. Those were long 15 minutes. Thank you very much for listening.
Excellent.
You have a very story look at like 15 minutes later.
Yeah, that was a great presentation. I think you will all agree that we got what we needed definitely for the panel. But I'm going to let Sara talk now for a little while. We shut up, and Sara, why don't you do a quick introduction of yourself before we start, and then we go diving into the questions.
Absolutely. Hello everyone, good to be here. I'm Sara, I'm 37, I'm Italian, and it's actually really nice to be able to talk about AI PLG today in my own country. It never happens. So I am growth lead at Lokalise, and I come from a background in mathematics. I did my PhD in biomedical engineering. Changed my career many times because I think part of it is my dynamic personality quite a lot. And I met Leah where I was a data scientist, and internally I transitioned to a PM role and started leading growth teams at Leah. And today I lead growth teams at Lokalise.
Amazing, excellent. So we're going to be asking questions about these two topics that Leah talked about. One is using AI for go-to-market, and two, embedding AI within the product. So let's look at the first one on the go-to-market side. Maybe Sara, you can start a little bit explaining how has your growth basically role changed with the upcoming technologies, AI technologies.
Yeah, absolutely. So I must admit that as small PDR, we were using AI quite a lot back in the days, 8 years ago. And we were already using machine learning model to predict conversion. So we had this model in production that would block users based on the probability of converting, and I built that. It was a 6-month project, a lot of fun. We also had churn models, machine learning models that we were using to target our users. And we also had, back in the days, a way of searching closely our models by constantly streaming data inside models. So this is not revolutionary in a sense to me. What changed, in my opinion, in the last couple of years is the accessibility to data and how fast I can analyze data. So I remember back in the days, the only data that were available to us was probably behavioral data coming from the product, and qualitative data in the form of user interviews and surveys that we were like randomly placing in the products. But if I think about data, I think about informations, right? And there's a lot, tons of other information outside, but also internally. So information coming from sales, coming from the customer success managers, information in the support tickets. And my access to this kind of information back in the days was very difficult, because what I had to do was build trust between, like, constantly talk with the stakeholders. So one-on-ones, trying to gain the trust from them, trying to sort of like get as much as they could out of their info. Today, it's actually super easy. So one of the first things that we did at Lokalise is to build this big research repository. And what we do is we have all the data in there, basically. We have behavioral data. We have transcript of the calls that sales do with the customers. And then what also happens is that we have AI running on top of this file system and basically classifying and tagging them. And then we have an AI that sends a message to Slack, to the sales guys, and it asks if the tags are correct, right? We're sort of checking if AI did good. And then we have, basically we have all the information together. We have the transcript of the post with the CRMs. And what we can do very easily is run LLMs.
So basically now you work 2 days and you rest 5 days because
It's
AI
amazing.
is working the rest of the
I
time.
know.
It looks like AI is doing everything here.
It is doing all this stuff, and we have this repository, and we built a little interface where we ask questions.
So are you able to keep it simple, in fact?
It is extremely simple.
Okay.
The difficult part is that all this information live in different tools, right?
Yeah.
So what you have to do is to have somebody that grabs the information from the tools and puts it into a database. And then LLM on top,
Yeah.
query it. I can do whatever I want. The difficult part is that you have to create, organize the data in the way that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
If I want to know what are the biggest questions for our customer during trial? Obviously, in the database, I need to know when the calls happened, and I need to know if the user was in trial during the calls, right?
Yeah.
If I have this information, then
Is this the same thing that you are seeing at GoPhoto, more or less? Is there anything, any example specific that you can maybe mention, or?
Yeah, so an interesting challenge is sometimes you're being faced with a problem that could have the origin in sales, in product, or in other silos. You know, it could be in growth, like the tech stack is just crap and so forth. So for instance, like if I'm looking at the pipeline that we have, you know, like we see like a big drop off between 2 steps. So for instance, we see that, oh, okay, look, our customers have booked 1,000 demos, but only 200 of those are happening, right? Like I'm looking at these, and as I told you before, executives love numbers, or they scare them. And this is one of these moments where I'm just like, okay, now I need to know what's wrong. And typically you think that, well, this sounds like a sales problem, right? But it could have all kinds of different issues. And commonly people are only looking into the silo that they are working in. And this has to deal everything with, like, you all have been sitting in presentations where someone said like, oh, we need to give people access to data. A good litmus test that I can do with most companies is that I say like, hey, I'm going to a product manager, and then I go to a support agent, I go to a customer success and a salesperson, I'm going to ask them one question. How much money does customer X make with us right now? Go. Tell me how fast it goes. Sales, 10 seconds. They log into HubSpot, they check it, right? Like they have their system. Product manager, I don't know. I'm going to ask Gary from sales over Slack, and then, you know, when he gets back to me, I'm going to do this. And this is a huge problem, because these processes, when they're not easy to do, the data may be available. All this data that you're talking about was available from before, and this is the big enabler that AI is, right? Like it gives you access to data easier. Whether it's correct or not is a different topic, but growth management was a lot about stakeholder management. So on a practical example to answer your question, what we did at GoPhoto is simply use the entire database structure. We export it into a PDF. So the field names, what does it mean, and so forth. I fed it into a custom ChatGPT agent. And now this agent, these are really good in understanding SQL, right? Like the syntax of SQL, but they don't know what we have with the data. So all we can do now with all this information is we can run SQL queries, we can copy them, put them in here, and then I can ask it questions, because it knows from the data fields and our documentation that we have, which is pretty good, what to do with these SQL queries, and then it's going to change them, right? So like, hey, I would like to know what the customers do and so forth. So Sara is a talented SQL writer herself, but you're not doing it yourself either anymore. I have not written an SQL query in ages, and that's one of the uses that we can do, so we can start to enable people who do not know how to query, for instance. And it's a very, very basic example. And, yeah.
So I think some of those examples we've been mentioning here are related to using data to extract information and allow us to make go-to-market decisions, obviously helping us on that. You can also use AI directly to reach out to customers, as you were talking about on the LinkedIn, on the, and all of that, right? Have you tried some of those? Do you still have a human in the loop? How much are you relying on AI and saying, hey, they can do this, I don't need to review it? So where are we on that? Just last question to talking about AI and the go-to-market. Just if you want to touch on that, on these two parts, right? Using AI for go-to-market internally, or using AI on go-to-market facing customer, in fact.
I can start.
Yeah, sure.
We have tried it, and we are trying it in many different ways. But I think this depends very much on your product, right, as well. So sometimes the product is simply not ready yet to have a full PLG motion, and which means that while you are moving maybe from sales-led to a hybrid motion or whatever, you simply need the human touch, and then you can try with AI. We have been trying to use AI together with the human touch to maybe reply some questions. I don't know, I think about like recently we are working on our new pricing model, and there's a pricing page, and we are exploring the possibility to have the Intercode tab opening up, and then you can ask questions about pricing to the AI, and then we will reply with what we have. We can feed the AI with the data from our actual customers. We can tell you what your ideal plan would be based on what other customers have purchased. We can do that. But at the end of the day, you will have other questions that AI cannot reply, because every use case is very different for us. So at the end, there is a case where you will have a human person replying to you.
Yeah, so, and that also touches a little bit of the churn that we were talking about before too, because of many of those products that we are using, we don't get what we thought we were going to get, right? So I believe churn because of that is a little bit higher. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about, we can take one of the questions here, in fact, that I saw, and then we move to talk about the AI embedded in the product. This one at the bottom, I like it because it's touching on the topic of the AI, in fact, which is the topic of today. We can go through other questions too, but I think this one is to this. So back in the days, many companies just changed the name of waterfall for agile, right? And today, many are changing the algorithm for AI. What do you think is going to be the impact on that, apart from basically pitching to investors and raising money at a higher valuation with AI, like people like
I was about to say that.
right?
You remember that, right? So
Yeah.
2 years ago, there was AI in every pitch deck. So she sees a lot of pitch decks. I also had to raise money with AI in the pitch deck. It's funny because I don't know who said, I'm not sure I understand. Who asked this question about the algorithm to AI? Do you mean that sometimes companies are trying to sell decision trees, which are just like A or B as AI? Yeah, this is a very typical one. So basically what he's talking about is that you have just a script that kind of decides based on one trigger whether something happens, right? And then it's kind of like a tree that's not AI, but companies still do that because they want to hire good talent or whatever. It's almost like as if you put it in your flag, but you don't have it. It's kind of happening. It's funny.
I mean, at what certain point we could see AI with blockchain at the same time.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, and there's just like this horrible mix-up with like that AI is the same as like machine learning and deep learning, and it's like no, these are subcategories, and it's a mess, as you would always say. Yeah, I don't want to, like, I find it very funny. So I don't think what the impact is. I think at some point AI's impact will separate the people who can do something with it and those that really have it. It's like you cannot fake your way to success in this at some point. But yeah, I find it very funny.
I personally think there is much more information today about what AI, machine learning, deep learning, Gen AI against other sort of AI is in the market, and so because of that, as there is much more information, I think it's much more difficult, in fact, to
just really quickly on this one, I think this is one of the main reasons why we have such high churn rates, because everything is so cool and amazing, but then it doesn't really work on a recurring basis because it's not really working. Either because it's not real AI, as you said, or it's just not good AI. It's like, it's the difference between a good first date and an actual relationship.
So let's talk a little bit about how companies are embedding AI within their products. And those can be, I think we are focused here on PLG products. Obviously, I'm happy to go even beyond that, because AI can even help with sales through the product. But what are the ways that companies are using?
So I think there's 2-3 things that come to my mind straight away. And one example is a recent project that everybody knows here. It's Duolingo. And my dad, he wants to learn English because now he's working in motorcycle tracks. He needs to talk with the pilots, and he's like, I want to learn English. So I got him a subscription to Duolingo, and I was there looking with him. Very nice. They use AI everywhere. So they use AI to sort of like give you the best experience, and it's adapting your question to your learning curve. And this is very nice for application and engagement. So basically what they do is I think they have their own algorithm. I checked this. It's for like bird brain, something like that. And what they do is to give you the questions that are the best for you to learn. And they have tons of data coming from their customers, right? And what they also do is they notice if you do errors, they just give you the questions that are related to the errors that you do. So this is like adapting to your learning curve. There's also other things. Churn, predicting churn, what we discussed before, is something that is pretty much every company does. I am sure that you all got the notification or the email. We haven't seen you in a while. It's always like this. And there's products that do that in many different ways. And Duolingo does that too. And any kind of gamification, it's actually pretty cool to see. Recently, there was this Nike app that it was sending me a notification telling me something is happening. So things are happening. There's a marathon. There's this fitness challenge. Join, and then you go there and you're selling stuff. So, and then I don't know. ClassPass reminds me there's what was it? Had like this mindful apps that tell you to go back and on you need to go back and be on a track for 7 days, and then you get this badge for being like the master of meditation. And this is like sort of gamification.
Is there any that you want to mention? I know that you love chatbots. I thought you were going to start talking about conversational AI and chatbot and all of those.
Yeah, okay.
I know you do.
I
talking about those.
No, I think we can. So, so if we talk about what works today in terms of like for the money that you're getting into the company, and what you also on top of it also generate actual value for the customers better, are chatbots and language models, because they are just even better sometimes than human support people. I'm sorry to say that, but that is just like the reality. You all have probably ever worked as a product manager where you had to feed a knowledge database with all the changes that you've made, and it's an absolute pain to kind of keep up to date, but everybody kind of needs it, right? But I think, at the end of the day, AI is best where you don't notice it. You all have been using AI for the longest time. The recommendation algorithms from Netflix, for instance, come to mind and so forth, which are trained on public data. So like if someone is starting to like a specific type of movies, then for some reason, and you don't know why, that's the other thing about AI, you do not know why the model does something, then it's going to recommend it to you as well. There's also some more negative kind of examples, because you can also misuse this, of course, but I think the challenge for most, and this is where I am home, it's the B2B SaaS, is about how can we enable AI to do something with data that is internal and do something productive with this, because usually internal data is very unique, very low in kind of amount, so you cannot train a model perfectly on it. And then what do you do with this, right? So like as Sara said, internal customer feedback is completely unique to your company and not publicly available. But it's very, very valuable, because what it solves is this annoying person-to-person interaction that is just like very, very, it's not sexy and it's not fun, right? Like it frustrates us from day to day.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the churn, and as an investor, in fact, I see the numbers of companies that have raised, and I'm going to say names, but companies that you know very well and have raised a lot of money with 80% yearly churn on their metrics, and they are very well-known companies, and they are companies that raise from tier 1 investors around the world. And we get the deck, and we don't understand how they can get there, but as a product person, you can't even believe that is happening, right? And we've seen this churn really happening. Have you experienced that as a result of embedding AI in your products or in some of the products of the companies that you've been working with? How have you removed it 100% AI? Have you been able to basically train or adapt AI to improve it? How did you solve this?
Should I take this? Okay, so I think about a year or two ago, after one of these talks, I had two guys come up to me and ask me about, hey, we have this company, we're making 5 million in revenue, and it's us too, and we don't know what we're doing. It's an AI chatbot that where you can upload a PDF and you can chat to it, and apparently every student loves this, and now we make 5 million in revenue. What should we do there? And I said, well, first you're buying me. No, but so I basically said that, I don't know, because no investor is going to give you money for this. There's a lot of these businesses right now that make a lot of money, but an investor is interested in how is your company going to look like in 5 years. So this, to your point of this churn. Why is this churn happening in the first place? Because there is a fundamental difference right now between what the customer expects, what you promise to them, and everything is a bit rage bait at the moment, right? Like everything is acquisition heavy, and we're still in the stage where we did not really train the markets on what they're getting afterwards, whether this is the real thing or not. So why do you churn from a product? Because it's not that useful, right? It's like one of these typical things where you change your habits, you start to exercise more, and then you're not sticking to it. Why do you not stick to it? Because something is not giving you the value that you were expecting it to. It's not that you were onboarding to something that you think oh, I'm going to use this for a month or two. I would love to have the same experience from the first place, but I think we still have to grow up because we're still in puberty still, we're expecting that eternal love is forever. But everybody who's in a relationship knows after 3 months, it's kind of becoming a normal thing. And this is a question that the core PMs have to solve. What value do I attract my customers with, and with what do I retain them? You were talking with me before about AI music. There's a startup called Suno, for instance. You can just you can say hey, I want to have a country song about Sara here being the prime minister for Italy, and you're going to get an amazing thing, and it's great. And you're going to say wow, that's really good. But then you also need different value to keep the people in, because what attracts people to buy something is not what keeps them in. So the reasons why I bought my car are not why I keep it. I don't keep my car because it can drive 280 kilometers on the highway. That's maybe why I bought it, because I wanted to impress my parents, but that's not why I keep it, right? It's about reliability, it's about different things. And that's the challenge that AI has not figured out yet. Because if you cannot deliver the value in some good way, then that's it. And it's, by the way, it is not about that there's a cheaper alternative somewhere else. It's very rare that customers churn from products just because they're a little bit too expensive in the market. It's very, very rare, right? You're already at the bottom of something. It doesn't matter whether something costs $15 per month or $10 per month on a bigger scale. It's because the value is not there yet to retain. Sorry, but I think this is a very important point. And that's why I think core PMs will be important.
I want to go to another question here, which is also, I just lost it in fact. It was about how do you use AI, literally, I don't know, disappear here, but it was around how do you use AI for agile product development? So going back to using AI internally, we talked about a little bit about using AI for go-to-market, but I found it interesting because we didn't talk about how do you in fact use AI specifically. How do you use AI for agile product development?
So I think I talk about growth teams because that's what I do. We have been having problems, right? Growth teams. I think if we think back in the days, as Leah said, sales-led motion, the company had the power, right? And now we are transitioning to PLG, and the customer has the power in a sense because they are testing many different products and they can test your product, they can see the value, they can even use it for free. And basically, growth teams have been placed a little bit in the spotlight. And what we need to do, but most of the time we don't have the authority to move the needle internally, to change the processes internally. So we have a lot of issues. Those issues, the 3 issues that come to my mind are with data. Data are very often not available or not clear. Issues with the processes, and issues with internal stakeholders. So we always have, end up in a conflict because we just work differently and we're everywhere. So AI has been solving all these issues in a sense internally. First of all, data. It's very easy, as I said, to work with data, to process them better, to analyze them better. Growth teams can very easily build their own analytic dashboards without doing much. And this speeds us up a lot. Also, AI helps in every process, right? Because it helps streamlining the processes by automating many things that before we had to do manually. And it helps when you do experimentation. For example, there are AI models that choose the right variant of maybe test much faster than before, so you can speed up your experimentation. You speed up the planning, you speed up the experimentation, you speed up the analysis. So it has helped a lot. But most importantly, it also changed the mindset of the company. So company now care about their data way more than before. And that definitely, it's a big change for growth teams.
Yeah, maybe more on the practical side, I think on a day-to-day job, I personally love writing tickets in Jira. I don't know, it's a trick, I know, I hate it. So, I mean, I'm also not a PM anymore, but I think anything that is giving you more time in the day to talk to customers is the right use of AI. Don't fall prey to the lure of AI to fake customer feedback, to fake customer validation, so you're getting your boss off your back. It's a very dangerous thing, because AI has no idea about the markets. It doesn't have access to these things. Okay, I mean, it can tell you some macro things, but maybe some generic kind of input and stuff. But I think what AI really can be used for as a PM is to give you time to become an expert in something that no one else has the time for, and that is your customers. I know it sounds shitty, I know it sounds like very, very practical, but the amount of time that I have wasted in my life in writing up PRDs, product requirement documents on stuff that never even saw the light of day in the end, and then you had to 10 times explain it to the engineers and so forth. Remember when I said that team sizes are coming down? That's exactly why. Right? Like, we can start to build more, hopefully also the right stuff, with less pain, because this overhead of managing and aligning 12, 30 people is going to go largely away. Because even you can produce 20 tickets per hour with AI, but the engineers are still not reading it. Right? So it doesn't help you, but with small team sizes they will, because you don't have to do that.
And do you think, because here you mentioned about the product organization shrinking, but what we are also hearing is that as AI is assisting code and maybe needing a smaller developer teams building products much faster, like myself investing in SaaS, being completely commoditized unless you have either a marketplace or a payment fintech solution on top of that software or whatever wins you there. Do you think that is going to put more emphasis and more weight on the product side, while we are reducing a little bit more than necessity on the development side, which is going to be led much more by AI? Not sure. I was just wondering, because maybe we are shrinking more even the development side of the product side. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I think the demands on the individual product managers are going to go up. I'm not sure whether any of you have heard the things that Mark Benioff from Salesforce said, like, we're not going to hire engineers anymore. That's bullshit. First of all, you cannot do that. I think there's a new job coming up, which is called AI repair engineer, because someone has to maintain this code. Everybody who has coded in their life knows the AI code also has its problems because of connections and so forth. But to your point, I think the demands are going to increase of the individual PMs, and the job will be fun as well. Again, but like overall, I think we have to be realistic that the company sizes are going to just like shrink. So we have smaller companies, which is also maybe a good thing.
I think what is definitely clear is that probably 20 years ago, we used to, 20, even 15 years ago, we used to ask companies, I was starting in venture, and I used to ask companies whether they were building their products on premises or on the cloud, right? Now, we never ask that question, like, are you building this on premises? So I think it will get a moment, and it's not going to take that long, where we will assume and give for granted that using companies and using AI and data to make products and workflows more efficient. And that's not going to be the core of the product itself, but rather a part of it, which I think is what we are going to in this transition. I think the insights were absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Sara, for the panel, for the presentation. Thank you for the questions.